Hello again, J-Spot peeps, and welcome back to the J-Spot. I'm your host, Mr. J. And for those of you who have subscribed thus far, thank you so much. Because of your generous support, I am on my way to 700 subscribers. Almost there. And for those of you who have stopped by for the first time, welcome. And while you're here, if you enjoy this content, please do subscribe. Drop us a like, drop us a comment, share this content with your family and friends, and make sure you hit that notification bell to be notified of content uploads going forward. In today's video, I'm going to continue in my series, My Country Used to Be, When Change is Not Progress. This video will concentrate mostly on the role of social services and how it has perpetuated the ideology of Willie Lynch by dismantling the black family by way of emasculating the black man. Let's get right to it, shall we? All right. Now, before I get into the crux, the meat of today's video, let me give you a little bit of background as to why I have been focusing on this particular issue, specifically Willie Lynch and the pattern of learned behavior in the black community, and why I believe it's important. I am focusing on this for one reason and one reason only. Since I have been involved in YouTube, in the YouTube channel atmosphere, genre, and because I have been speaking about certain things and researching certain things, my algorithm continues to bombard me with podcasts about black women talking trash about black men. And I happened to watch some of it, and because I had always been intrigued by the conversations that I've had with many of my black female friends over the years, and I believe I did a video about this a few months ago, Faith Over Flesh, where I talked about how black women were always, that I knew personally, were always had this checklist about black men. He's got to be 6 feet tall, and he's got to be dark skinned, and he's got to make 6 figures a year. And I would always wonder, what is it? Where did that come from? And the reason why it intrigued me so much, not because I'm short or I ever had a problem getting women, it's just because when I was growing up in the South, in a segregated neighborhood, going to a segregated school, I never heard women say that. I never heard women say that. You know, I never heard a woman say he's got to be 6 foot tall and he's got to make a certain amount of money. So I was intrigued. Where does that come from? And then when I came across the Willie Lynch Manifesto several years ago, and I read about his ideology and his concept and of how to make a slave and to best get control of the slave family was to emasculate the black man in front of the black female. And so I've been especially lately, I had a conversation, and you know, just to digress quite a little bit, I had a conversation with a female friend of mine several weeks ago, and I asked her point blank, I said, what is this thing? Because she was one of these women, he's got to be 6 feet tall, and he's got to da-da-da, and I just kept after her, why? Why? And finally, after she got pissed off, she finally admitted to me, it's the optics. Optics. I was like, really? So it really has nothing to do with what you really want. You just want people to see you in a certain way. And who are you trying to impress by that? By that, with that mindset? Are you trying to impress men by having a 6 foot tall man? Or are you trying to impress women by having a 6 foot tall man? It's not about what you need, it's about optics. Really. And so, and because I'm a social justice advocate anyway at my core, folks, I'm a political junkie. When I had my radio show years ago called Real World Politics, it was about politics, an opinionated show about politics. And I must confess it was somewhat biased toward the left. Because my upbringing, I know racism when I see it. It's kind of like I only have to see it to know it's there. It's like a dead body. You don't have to see it to know it's there. You can smell it. And so, it led me down this track. And I'm not trying to be, adversarial or anything like that. What I'm attempting to do with this is to show the correlation between covert ideology and covert racism and how we have been duped into thinking that we're so comfortable now that we don't need the things that we really need. It's like one of the first things that Willie Lynch said in his manifesto, was that if you place a man in a pigsty, and you make him feel as though that's the most comfortable place for him to be, you will never hear anything from that man or that woman unless they're asking for something to clean the pigsty with. And you may not even hear from them then. And if you plant that if you instill them with that ideology, after a period of time, it will regenerate and self-refuel for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, which means that after a while, you as the master or the controlling race, you won't have to instill that ideology in them. You won't have to perpetuate that ideology within their community because they will do it themselves. Because they will become so comfortable in their spot that they won't want anything else to interfere with that. And that is exactly how social services wormed its way into the black community by taking control of the black female. And that is exactly what black females are doing today. They are emasculating their men, only in a different way. They're emasculating their men by telling them if you don't have a certain amount of money and if you're not tall enough, then you're no good to me. Then you are no good to me. If you can't give me what the white man has told me I should have, or has made me believe that I should have those things based on the images that I see on the internet and on television and on the big screen, then you are no good to me. And that's what I'm trying to get across with this information that I'm putting forth. It's about education. It's about edification. It's not about evisceration or emasculation. It's about providing a window in which you can go through to see the other side. To see the other side and to see the covert actions that are being taken against you by your own hand. The reason why your community is dying is because you are holding the knife. You are holding the knife. You are self-regenerating and self-refueling the very ideology that Willie Lynch instilled in the first female slave that he emasculated her husband in front of. That he used to emasculate her husband. Psychological trauma and physical violence. Now, let's talk about psychological trauma and and physical violence as it relates to, first, Willie Lynch, and secondly, the child welfare system as we know it today. According to Kathy Harp and Amanda Bunting in their report, Racialized Nature of Child Welfare Policies and the Social Control of Black Bodies, a 2008 paper, this is what they say, and I quote, I'll read from the paper. State and social control of black reproduction in the United States has a history that can be traced back to slavery. Put a pin in that. Despite the abolition of slavery in the United States, state intervention in the lives of black women and their families, not black men and their families, but black women and their families, persist in a less overt form today. Meaning that it's there, you just don't see it as being what it really is. I'll continue. Specifically, the black women and their children, born and unborn, are disproportionately affected by the child welfare system, hereinafter known as CWS, and also affected by punitive CWS policies. Punitive, punishment, psychological warfare, psychological trauma. This control is exercised on multiple levels. First, black women are more likely than other women of other races to be screened for drug use during pregnancy and to face legal consequences for prenatal drug use. Psychological trauma, including incarceration and the loss of custody of their child immediately postpartum, which means as soon as the child is born, they're taken from the woman. Second, black women are more often reported to the CWS and more likely than women of other races to lose custody of their children as a result. Again, psychological trauma. They are also less likely to be reunited with their children, sans family separation during slavery. And I'll tell you, give me a minute, I'll tell you why this stands out as being so important. Because during slavery, it was the general rule of thumb was that you did not sell families in a bundle, to use of the vernacular, the current vernacular. You didn't sell families in a bundle, meaning you separated them and sold them off as individuals because you could get more money that way, which was the point. Profitability. We were property. So you break the family down. It's easy to break the family down if the man is not there. If you didn't sell him off at the auction, you beat him to death in front of his family. You diminished his authority. So, black women are more likely than women of other races to lose custody of their children as a result, and they are less likely to be reunited with their children. When you don't reunite the family, guess what happens? The culture is diminished. These policies, excuse me, whose stated aim is the protection of children and the preservation of families, are unevenly enforced and have largely failed to achieve the desired outcomes. Yet, progress in this arena has been piecemeal and insufficient. Again, there's that word, progress. Remember what this started out as. My country used to be. When change is not progress. And I'll go on. Perhaps the most detrimental outcome of punitive CWS policies is the degree of disruption to black families and communities. Why is that important that they disrupt black families and communities? The same reason it was important during Willie Lynch era and the era of slavery. If you kept the family together, the outcomes for success within that family and within that community increase exponentially. And if they are together, then the conspiracy theorists of those days would worry that they would murder white people in their sleep. Same thing they think about today. That's why they always want to carry guns. They won't let us carry them, but they want them. And this occurs in several ways. I'll continue from the article, from the report. First, there's a direct connection. Now get this, because I asked this question in one of the videos. What section of the American black population does the criminal justice system target more, and why? So here we go. Here's the answer. First, there's a direct connection between child welfare and the criminal justice system. They're cohorts. Neither one of them have your best interest at heart. And they do this, believe it or not, I talked about this several videos again, previously, about how back in the day in the 50s in Michigan, in the auto industry, in the winter, during the winter, the factories would close for retooling, and because business was slow, and the black auto workers, the males, would get laid off, and resulting in their female count of the females in the household having to go apply for welfare. Welfare would make the man leave the house. When he left the house, he was subject to pay child support, which he could not pay because he was unemployed. And because he was unemployed, they would lock him up. And now he's got a record, which made it more difficult for him to find a job. And without him in the house, guess what? If you don't do this, they would tell the female, and if you don't do that, as long as you keep him out of the house and you keep him out of his child's life, we'll provide you with a financial option. Translation, we'll give you welfare benefits. See? We'll give you welfare benefits if you emasculate. Help us emasculate your man, and we'll give you a financial option for survival. As Roberts in his 2002 wrote, the two institutions, talking about child welfare system and the criminal justice system, are remarkably similar. Both populated almost exclusively by poor people and by grossly disproportionate numbers of blacks. The imprisonment of parents leaves many children in foster care, and many black children move from the CWS to the juvenile justice system. Adolescents in the foster care system are often sent to juvenile detention centers for acting out, for being children. Furthermore, stressors related to foster care and group home placements often lead adolescents to act out or run away. Upon reaching legal age, young adults abruptly leave their foster homes or institutions. Black households were the most likely group to be a family household maintained by a woman without a spouse. Without a spouse. Once she becomes comfortable in that living condition without a spouse, then she begins to believe she doesn't need him. And when she begins to believe that, guess what she's teaching her daughters? You don't need a man. It self-regenerates and self-refuels. You don't need a man. Black women were also found to be more likely than black men to be part of a non-family household. Again, what that means is black women were more likely than black men to be living without a spouse. living without a spouse. Living without a spouse. Thank you, J-Spot peeps, for spending some of your valuable time here with me in the J-Spot. Join me again next time while I continue in this series. And in the meantime, if you've enjoyed this content, please give us a like. For those of you who have never subscribed, please subscribe. Drop a comment, share this content with your family and friends, and make sure you come back to see me, because we have a lot more discovering to do and a lot more purpose to pursue. In the meantime,